What's up, guys? Welcome back for another EVE Online video. So what you're looking at here is a hour-long moon mining test with the Solo Orca using augmented drones on Ubiquitous ore in HiSec. Really, the purpose of this test was to get a realistic number in ISK you can make per hour, mining basically the lowest value of ore that's there. Obviously, if you go up to common or even uncommon or whatever the case may be, or if you get like a bonus frag, it's considerably more. But I actually prefer mining. If I'm doing any sort of like non-ice mining in HiSec, I like doing moon mining because it's probably the safest, and also it can be extremely AFK'd, right? You can be doing all kinds of other things while this Orca is just kind of sitting on grid. Now, depending on how long the moon pools were for the frac that you're currently working, it's gonna change the density of the rocks and things like that. For this, the bigger coasite rocks were about 160,000 cubic meters, which after about an hour, there was I want to say 26,000 cubic meters left in the rock. So we did roughly 140,000 cubic meters in an hour. Basically, we're at the point now in this footage where I basically got up to like 2,400 units of coasite, then I compressed it, and then I waited to compress the next set all at once at the end. But we ended up doing pretty well, and I'm running max skills with this Orca as well. As you can see here, I'm pulling out the compressor. This was the initial 2,400, and then essentially I'm going to leave everything else where it is, and then I'm going to just compress everything once we're done with the hour. This is sped up to like 600% or more, just so we can kind of like see the full thing in this video. Well, like I said, I'm running full skills with this. So the augmented drones, they're getting 340 cubic meters a minute times 5. Obviously, you can be mining, if you mine with a fleet, or if you have like a Hulk with you, or whatever the case may be, and you're boosting them, you're going to make a killing on moons. And that's probably what I would recommend for most people is, to still have that Orca on a rock, and just don't let the exhumers or the barges on the rock that the drones are on, so that the drones have something to constantly mine. But they can stay close enough to the Orca and dump in and compress and do all those things while hitting more remote rocks. But I would say that even if you just had one Hulk on field with you and you're boosting it, you could do probably 50 million of coasite probably in an hour, which is not bad. Like the value, so you have like 3 stages of value when it comes to moon ore, right? The raw ore is going to be worth the least because it's heavy. You're not going to take the raw coasite to market just because it's going to take a lot of space, and you're not going to get a lot of value in a freighter or whatever. So whenever you can take like literally like 1 unit of coasite is going to have an X amount of value, and you compress it, and it's considerably more valuable. The other tier of value is actually what comes out of it. So the refined mineral value and the moongu itself. So what I usually do in terms of like HiSec mining is I'll mine a moon pretty much for the entirety before like the moon actually starts like kind of depleting and stuff like that. Compress it all on field now that we have compression in the Orca, which is great. We used to have to do some really crazy logistic stuff with like miasmoses and other Orcas that were fitted for hauling, but now that we can compress moon ore in the Orca, it makes it so easy. I normally just like stack all of the compressed ore in compressed form in the Athenor or whatever, and after the moon frac is completely done, I kind of like look at everything and decide if I want to like refine it at like a Tatara, which is usually a better chance. If you can find Tatara in HiSec, which there are some that have compression at low rates, then you can do that. You just got to be prepared to have a way to transport all of those materials, those refined goods, as soon as you do it. But I would say that, like, obviously you can go out and you can mine in, you know, asteroid belts. You can get like pure Bellspar or Plag or whatever the case may be, and, you know, do a little bit better. Those rocks are a lot smaller though. If you want to be efficient, and, you know, at least with drone mining, even if you have, like, you know, hulks with you, you can burn through a asteroid belt pretty quick. What's nice about this is you can essentially stay out here for a few hours and make, you know, I've made, like, if you went back, we used to do like 3 hulks with the Orca. So I put the Orca on like a rock like this, and then I'd basically have 3 hulks with me, and they would all be on their own individual rock at remote. You know, they would just fire from a distance, and I would clear, you know, 100 million plus an hour. Now, granted, that was back before we had compression, and so you weren't able to really see. There was a lot of time that got lost when you're moving stuff around, especially like as a single player. Like, I had at one point, I had like an alt that did nothing but, you know, logistics just to empty the Orca out. But I think, you know, if I still had that whole setup going now, I wouldn't even have to have that logistics alt. That would just be like a 4th Hulk or whatever, and it would be even more. But like, this moon frac is not a bonus frac, which, you know, is going to have a, you know, higher valued ore in it as well. And I'm purposely mining this test with the lowest, one of the lowest ores you could, just to give like a good baseline. But really, if you're like not into like null, if you're not into like doing low seg or wormhole or Poshman or anything like that, and you don't mind like mining, high seg moon mining is probably the best, easiest, safest revenue stream you can kind of get going. And you don't really have to worry about, like, if you're not using the moon goo yourself, you can obviously find somebody that is using it, and you can sell it to them. But just don't wait till you have a buyer. You know, start stockpiling it. One thing I will say is, if you are going to stockpile any type of ore or any type of assets in high sec, try to stack them in NPC stations, because if you stack them in NPC stations, you don't have to worry about that structure going into low power or getting blown up or whatever the case may be. So what I used to do is, like, even though I had like an Athanor for my corporation, we would do moon mining, I would purposely take all of the corporation's major stockpile and put it in a NPC structure in system. That way, I called it like the long-term storage, and that's kind of what I ended up doing with that. But for this video, we ended up doing about a little shy of like 15 million. So the total count ended up being, we ended up getting 9,574 compressed cosite, which appraised at the time of the recording of this video is buy value for Vegeta is 14 million or 14.65 million, which is not bad considering it's the lowest tier of ore we could be mining. But and we lost a little bit of time. We had like 1 rat spawn, which, you know, usually I let them go. I let the rats go if they're not attacking the augmented drones, and I just kind of leave them. But, you know, knowing you can get, you know, baseline 15 million an hour just doing like ubiquitous ore in high sec that's just with the Orca's drones. If you add anything you add to that, even if you just like go up to like common ore, then you're going to get more than that. If you add 1 Hulk to the process, you're going to get even more, and it's just going to scale like that. And I'll always say that, like, you know, minimum I think you need if you want to grow in Eve is 2 accounts. You always want that alt, because if you want to fly bigger ships, you need a Sino. So like, I think at the bare minimum, taking an Orca and a Hulk out on a moon mining in high sec you're going to net quite a bit. And obviously, the further, you know, make your pools really large too. If you can, like, try to get like those, you know, 55-day pools where there's just like a good amount of stuff to really like make a profit, and you can make billions and billions off a full pool if you're dedicated on getting it off the field. But thank you for watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. See you in the next video, and yeah, peace out.